Welcome to the last session of the meditation training. Thanks for watching until the end. Thanks for being here. Thanks also for your donations. And welcome tomorrow Saturday at the live Q&A in Messenger Rooms. You can find that information on Facebook so that you can ask any question in relation to this teaching or any subject that might be related to that. So today we talk about the last part, sadhana, spiritual exercise. Sadhana means that we are doing a certain exercise for a certain period of time, and we also do this with a certain aim. We want to achieve something, we want to learn something, we want to learn to master something, or we want maybe something also in return for the effort that we are giving. This is all part of sadhana. There are some other words associated with it, like the word tapasya, but I would say that all tapasya is a kind of sadhana, but not all sadhana is a kind of tapasya, because tapasya literally means burning. And so it means to burn away your attachments, and in that way it is mostly about, not doing something or not being involved with something. That is a kind of tapasya, and these exercises are generally quite hard, on the body, maybe on the ego, so that you really learn to detach. But that is not true for all sadhana. Sadhana might be about not doing something, but it might also simply be about doing something. For example, about meditating every day for half an hour. That is also a sadhana. So that is not yet a tapasya, but nevertheless very much a part of spiritual growth and very much needed to promote spiritual growth. And then another word is vrat. Vrat literally means fasting, from this and that. So not only food fasting, but so this is again more a kind of tapasya, but maybe a little bit softer kind of tapasya, which stops you from doing something for some time so that you get more control over it and over the desire that relates to it. So many different possibilities are there. They all somehow or other include a kind of a promise. So a sadhana or a tapasya is not something that we, let's say, lightly decide upon. We properly think about it, we properly define it, and then we promise that we will do this for some time. So this promise then also, it is better if we can keep it. If we break the sadhana, then this will have a negative effect on our self-confidence. We will feel a little bit guilty or incompetent or whatever, and so this is not a good idea. So if we do a sadhana, we have to be sure that we can do it and that we have the motivation to do it, and make sure that we do it. Whichever sadhana it is, this is always very important. And this promise can be made just simply to ourselves, or sometimes it is also made to the teacher, or sometimes it is made to the divine energy that we are trying to attract through this sadhana. And definitely in that case it is something which should not be broken. There it is said that if we break such a sadhana, which we have promised to the energy of Ganesha or Kali or Buddha or Christ or whomever, that if we break it, that the next time, if we want to start it again, we will at least have to do double the effort to get the same kind of result. So this is something not to be taken too lightly. Another thing to understand about sadhana is that it is not about things being good or bad. When we meditate, basically we stop thinking. That does not mean that thinking is bad. No, only that we want to be able to stop it when we want. So the same thing goes, for example, if you say, okay, I will start a sadhana for 1 month, I will not eat any sugar. Then, okay, this does not mean sugar is bad. It just means maybe you are having too much of it. You don't have much control over this. And so you want to gain that control, and so you keep sugar away for 1 month, that's all. Or maybe you just want to experience what it is to be without sugar for 1 month, what it does to your system, how you feel, how you think, how you perform, so that you can learn something from this, and then maybe afterwards you still take some sugar, but maybe more limited than before, whichever. So many different kinds of sadhana anyhow can be done. Literally everything where you feel that you have no control or too much attachment can be a part of sadhana, and any kind of ability that you want to develop can be a part of sadhana. So sadhana regards everything in life, and everything in life can be part of your sadhana. For those people who remember the story about sitting, you may remember that I said that at some time I came back from India, and there I removed all the chairs from my house to force myself to sit on a flat surface without back support, and in that way strengthen my back muscles and finally solve this sitting issue. So this was also, I could say, kind of a sadhana. Although I never really made any big promises or even didn't really define any duration. It was just a feeling of wanting to solve this thing, and so I decided, and I think I stopped sitting on chairs for about 2-3 years. I don't remember exactly, but anyway, so any part of your life where you feel lack of control is there can be part of your sadhana. So in the Vedic tradition we find so many examples. Not having sugar, not having salt. I mean, salt definitely is something we need, no? This is a need. But still, for some time we can do without, for purification of our system. Maybe to solve some kapha issue that we have in the body, this may be a good idea. Maybe some laziness also we can cure with it. So these things are all possible. And when we look then, for example, at sadhus, who of course, the name says it, no? Live sadhana, no? Their life is a sadhana. So they do things which are maybe more special, like many sadhus have a rule that they will never stay in one place for more than 1 night, or maybe more than 2 nights, it depends. And so, okay, that is quite serious. That means they don't want to attach to any place. They don't want to attach to any people in any place. They don't want to search outside of them for happiness. They always want to, again, force themselves to be only with themselves and only have themselves. And that's why then they move from one place to another and never stick around, so that they also don't grow attached to any particular thing. And it can also be the other way around, like Baba Dwarkadas, who was the teacher of my teacher Harish Johari, but whom I've also had the pleasure to know and stay with for quite some time. He had this sadhana that he was in one place, and he never moved from that place. This was like a small temple courtyard in the city of Bareilly. And he'd been there for more than 40 years, and he never went out of that courtyard. No? Same thing, no? Not feeling the need to go out to search for something. Whatever he needed, he could find there, or at least have it being brought there, like food and things like that, and nothing else actually he was needing, only himself, and so he stayed there until he died. So these are more extreme forms, no, of sadhana. You have these sadhus standing on one leg for a very long time, sitting in ice for a very long time. There are so many serious sadhanas being done by the sadhus. It's quite amazing to see them do that, and then we as householders, no, we cannot do so much. We have other responsibilities, but still also in our life there are some things which we can do and which we are advised to do. And then, for example, Raja Sadhana, about which I have been teaching quite a lot, is another option. which anyhow also does not take any time. So this means that for some time, maybe for 1 day or 1 week or something, we stay away from anger, or we love everybody. So these things then are also possible. There's of course also sexual abstinence as a kind of sadhana, which is mostly related to gaining deep meditation and being able to stay long in deep meditation, for which we need the ojas, which is then, preserved by preserving also our sexual energy. And even if that is not the case, it may be wise if we feel, okay, our sexual energy is too much drawing us outside and we don't really want to be drawn outside. We want to focus more inside. We want no such distraction. And so in that way we can also decide, okay, for a while, no sex. So these are things that are possible. And of course, food fasting is also a very powerful sadhana that we can do. Again, in many different ways. We can fast for 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, 1 week, or something like that. Have a complete fast. Or we can fast maybe for a longer time, eating only this kind of food or that kind of food. Or we can have the sadhana that at least once a week, 1 day we will fast. So many different ways are there. There is mona, fasting from speech, from which we can really learn a lot about ourselves and others, and which ultimately also turns us inward and even there stops the internal dialogue, which anyhow is a lot of imaginary speaking to other people. So if we're not allowed for 1 month, let's say, to speak to other people, then also these rehearsals that we have in our head, they kind of tend to stop. So that makes the mind more quiet and more suited for meditation. So we have fasts from sleep also, 1 night, maximum 2 nights, no longer, because that might really damage your mind, But these are powerful fasts also, which gives you a lot of willpower, which is definitely also something which you develop by doing sadhana. And there's so many, the yamas and the niyamas also somehow or other can become like a sadhana, to speak only truth for some time, or to stay away from any enjoyment for some time. These are all possibilities. So in spiritual development, one is actually advised to always keep at least one kind of sadhana going. Even if it is a small thing. Sometimes in life we have really to be more involved with the world, we have to work hard, we have kids, we have this, we have that. But it is advisable always to keep at least one little thing going, even if it's not much, because this will help us to grow and develop, and also help us to be satisfied about ourselves, to be doing that, and to see that we make some progress there. It is something which keeps you alert about who you are and what you want and where you are going. Even if at the moment you have not so much time to spend on spiritual activities or exercises, but at least you keep something going. It gives you the feeling to always move forward. Like one of my teachers before, who passed away, was Katya Baba, and he was wearing a wooden belt around his middle. It's quite thick and heavy and strengthened with copper also. And this is something he could not take off. So there was a lock, but the lock was broken, so he could not take it off. And because of that belt, he could not lie down. So sleep for him was only in a sitting posture possible. And anyhow, standing, walking, sitting, that was what he could do. But lying down like the rest of us was not possible. So then when I asked him, why you do this? He did it for more than 30 years. Then he said, well, after a while you get quite used to it, but still it is so clearly there that it always keeps me alert. and focused on the divine and focused on my spiritual development, I can never forget it because of this thing which is there. So that is also a little bit what the sadhana is doing. Even if it's something which we do for 5 minutes every day, then at least once a day we are reminded of who we are and what we want.
So I just discovered maybe I don't have to put this headphone over my head to use the very good microphone attached to it. It's very hot today, so it's kind of more comfortable like this. Let's see how it goes in the recording. So then why to do sadhana? There are many, many good reasons. And the first I would say is purification. Purification of body, of mind and of soul, our three main levels, can be very much enhanced by doing something for a certain period of time. By the effect of the repetition which is there, we can very well clean ourselves. Whether it is by not eating sugar for some time and the effect it has on our body, on our blood especially, or whether it is on the mental level by meditating every day, then this build-up of spiritual energy in meditation will really be very much enhanced by this repetition and by this daily practice that we are doing. And especially for people who are not feeling very good, who have a lack of confidence, sadhana is the way out. Sadhana, is like grinding something for a longer period of time until, it is properly polished and it really, does what it should do. And to build up confidence, discipline is very important. And we have to adapt it to whatever confidence is there, to whatever the person feels that they can do. But I encounter many people through my healing practices where I know, okay, through the healing I can help them, I can make it more easy. But if they themselves also can use the occasion to start something, to start some daily practice, to start some sadhana, they have so much more chance of moving forward rapidly. No, and then they have done this thing for some time, okay, it may not be a big thing, but at least that they've been able to do, so they can be a little bit proud about it and feel ready to do some more, and then when they do some more, they feel even more confident, and this way confidence, it grows. So confidence is built step by step by discipline, which is precisely what sadhana means. No? And then definitely also on the level of our soul, of our subconscious mind, to make changes there requires this repetition, this maintained practice, because they're definitely the energies, they don't change just by one session. These are old, complex structures which need a more continuous kind of pressure, I would say, to be slowly disentangled and released, and the blockages, can in that way be removed. Definitely also when it comes to spiritual growth, sadhana is very, very interesting. Spiritual growth, anyhow, it always happens. Whatever happens to us, how we respond to it, this is all part also of spiritual growth. And karma works in such a way that whenever there is room for it, it will bring up something new. It will bring up some new problem which is related to some kind of attachment that we have, so that we can learn to detach from it. So we can just either let karma do its work, which means that, problems pop up quite regularly and we try to deal with it in the best possible way, maintaining, harmony, maintaining the yamas and niyamas as much as we can. Or we can ourselves take a little bit charge of that process and create a problem for ourselves, because that's basically what sadhana is doing. When we say we are not eating sugar, when we say we're going to meditate every day 1 hour, this is in a way also a little bit creating a problem. No? And by creating this problem, we assure that the spiritual growth is happening. And actually for our karmic essence, it does not matter so much which problem is dealt with first, as long as there is progress. So by deciding ourselves on certain sadhanas, we take a little bit charge of that process and decide ourselves which problems we like to deal with first, which attachments we'd like to loosen up first, and that way we are less bothered by our karma in doing this. I am not saying that this will totally change your karma and there will be only flowers and sunshine. That is also not how it works, but a little bit, yes, sure, we can see that the person who is having a regular sadhana is experiencing less outer problems. And then last but definitely not least, sadhana is about gaining control. And that is often causing somewhat a kind of a confusion. Because, well, the essence of the yoga philosophy is that we have no problem, that there is no problem, that this world is an illusion, that our ego is an illusion, and that we have to play this life like a divine lila, a divine game, and not be too serious about it. But still, we need to gain more and more control over ourselves in order to be able to do that. And especially, the first thing that needs to happen in yoga is that the ego gains control over mind. And for that, the ego has to be strong. This is also symbolized by Shiva sitting on the tiger skin. And the tiger represents the mind, who is very powerful. So, but Shiva is sitting on it, he has mind under control, and this is definitely part of the process. If we do not have mind under control, how can we let the ego go? No, the ego comes with a certain feeling, a certain attachment, a certain sadness, a certain anger, whatever it is. But then mind, if we have no control over it, will take it and will blow it out of proportion. We'll add all kinds of thoughts and feelings and old stories to it, and we'll make it into a big thing, which then becomes very difficult to let go. No? Only if we have mind under control, then whenever such a feeling comes, we can deal with it in a good way and truly let it go. You cannot let go what you do not hold. So this is the basic premise. Always in yoga, first we need to be a little bit serious in order to be able not to be serious. We need to have this control over mind in order to let the ego be the divine child that it is. No? And have this play, have this lila, have this game. So this 1 hour of sadhana a day allows us to be a lot more loose and light and spiritual the rest of the day. So that is really how we have to see it. And also in meditation, when we want to reach the phase of dhyana, and definitely also the deep meditation phase of samadhi, we first have to pass through dharana, which is concentration. And there really ego takes control, total control over mind. Mind is not allowed to think whatever it wants. No, mind should be focused only on this one object of our meditation. And only when we have achieved that, then we can work on keeping that concentration while letting go of the ego, letting go of doership, letting go also of all that control and willpower, and truly surrendering to the divine which is waiting for us inside. So first we have to get mind under control. And sadhana is the way to do it. The reason why we often object to it is because we have this idea of freedom and we don't want anybody to tell us what to do or what not to do. So we do not really like to give up this freedom. But the truth is, if you don't want anybody else to control you, then you have to start controlling yourself. Because, as I said, some control is needed. Otherwise, you are just a slave, not of anybody else, but of your own body, of your own mind, and of your own habits, of your taste buds. So many people are eating so much more chocolate than they actually want to eat or should eat for their personal health, but they still can't stop themselves. So at that moment, who is the slave? And so if you want to gain control, then okay, you stop chocolate for a month. Then after that month, you have gained the control. Then again, you can have chocolate, but you'll be more moderate in it. You'll be more a person who is doing what he wants to do and not doing what he doesn't want to do. So then you become more free. No? So this is not about freedom. This is about gaining freedom from yourself, because you yourself are the one who is mostly chaining up yourself and limiting yourself. So if you want to push on those barriers, if you want to change yourself, if you want to reprogram yourself, if you want to change your habits and your attachments and your addictions, then exercise, sadhana, is the way to go. Sadhana is also interesting because it's always like an experiment. You learn so much from it. You get a lot of insight because of it. When you are stopping to eat sugar for 1 month, then you will really know what that does to you. As long as you only talk about it or read about it or think about it, what do you know? All you know is just second-hand knowledge. But when you stop eating sugar for 1 month, you will feel yourself the effect that it has, the stability that you get more on a mental, emotional level by doing that, and then maybe afterwards again you'll still have some sugar, but it will be more moderated, it will be more as it should be, and you'll have understood really quite deeply what it is people are talking about when they talk about stopping sugar. So then definitely when we try the more difficult things in terms of meditation practices, then we gain a lot of insight into ourselves and into the process of yoga. Insights that cannot be gained just by listening to somebody or reading something. They can only be gained by doing. Definitely when I hear some people talking about their life, that it is boring, that their work is boring, and maybe their relationship is boring and they don't really know what to do, well then sadhana is the way to go. Sadhana makes life very interesting, very challenging. It's like some people, they do all these extreme dangerous sports, just to feel the adrenaline running and to feel, they are really doing something. Well, but if that is not possible, then sadhana is always possible. And always something that you can have going on with many sadhanas, even 24 hours a day, keeping you alert, keeping you, in a position where you are challenging yourself, and in that way also, you get somehow more energy because of it, because there is a reason for it. Whatever you are starting there as a game, the universe will provide the energy for it. So definitely sadhana is something which makes you more alert and more alive and makes life quite a lot more rewarding. And then we all come to that point where we have done quite a lot and have gained something, have gained a certain balance, have gained a certain harmony, a certain ability to be happy, and not much is there which can stop us from that. So then we may feel that we don't need so much sadhana anymore, which may be true. There may come a time when the need becomes less. But it is advisable to keep always something going. And I only have to look at the many great teachers that I've had, who are so much way beyond myself in their development. They were all still maintaining some sadhana, and usually quite a serious sadhana, which was taking quite some of their time. Because, well, they have gone through the experience of feeling there's no need. And so then when we feel there's no need, we don't do it. And then maybe we don't meditate for some weeks or some months. And then maybe after some months suddenly we realize maybe something happens and we feel very much out of balance and feel quite unhappy, and then we know, okay, now again I need to regain that balance, and I need to again start doing some sadhana. So then that experience again brings us, the first-hand knowledge, and keeps us maybe going for a time until maybe we make the mistake again for a second time or a third time. I can't count in my life. I think many times I made that mistake of thinking I didn't need to meditate anymore, until you realize, no, you better, just keep it going. And this is also because of the understanding that when we meditate because we need to meditate, then the meditation is somehow a compensation for the stress of our life and keeping us from becoming unhappy or becoming too unhappy. So then we also realize that when the good times are there, when everything is going very smoothly and we are feeling very good, that at that time our meditation starts serving quite a different purpose and starts really serving itself and starts allowing us to really deepen our peace, to really deepen our meditation experience and deepen our understanding. And so then we accept that in the good times, when we don't feel the need, that we can still see it as a great opportunity to practice more, to do more, and in that way, really grow. So, and for those who really have less time or no time at all, who have a very busy life, sadhana definitely is advisable, but then we have to pick something which is not costing any time. Like the rasa sadhana I was talking about, not getting angry, loving everybody, these things, the yamas and niyamas, talking truth, having no sugar, having no this, having no that. All these things are still possible. We can still do mantra whenever our mind is not needed for anything else because we are cleaning or walking or driving. So we have to be a little bit creative about it and find what we can do and then also do that. And it will help us to be confident, to be focused, to be alert, and to grow and learn many things. So, for example, I knew a sadhu, and he always put a little needle under his skin in his arm. It's just a tiny needle, like maybe 1.5 centimeter. He would put it in there, and it would always keep him alert, because always this pain would be there. Whenever the arm moves also, that really like creates a pain. And by 24 hours a day, dealing with this pain, he would always stay quite alert of who he is, of what he wants to achieve, of where he is going, and of the true nature of ourselves and the universe. So then whenever that needle started creating a wound which was not healthy anymore, he would pull it out, treat the wound, and put the needle somewhere else. So just to say, I'm not saying you all have to put a needle in your arm, but something is very advisable to have. At least one thing, even if it does not cost any time, I advise you to have. It will help you very much forward. So then how to do a sadhana in a way that is really going to work? So the first thing to understand is that the start of anything is very important. So definitely also the start of your sadhana is very important. That you properly study it, properly define it, and start it at the right time so that you can really do it. As I said, to keep this promise is quite important for yourself. So yes, don't do it just like that. Decide what you are going to do, and then one day you start doing it. It is usual also to do a little ritual, like for any meditation, for any sadhana you do some kind of ritual. in which you express this intention and make your promise, so that it becomes something official and something which you feel really bound to and which you are going to respect. The main reason why the start is so important is to make sure that there are no doubts left, that you have properly thought about it, imagined all kind of circumstances in which you would have to do this sadhana, so that you already know how you are going to deal with it. It's a little bit like a person who decides to stop smoking cigarettes, just like that. Then his chance of succeeding are quite slim. But if he has thought about it very well, why he wants to do it, why he wants to do it now, how he is going to compensate maybe for the stress that it is going to give him, how he is going to maybe avoid other people smoking around him, or whichever is related to it, he has properly planned and imagined it in advance, and then he has a much better chance to succeed. So this is the same thing when we talk about sadhana. And about starting a sadhana, the moon phases are really very important. So the time around new moon is definitely not a good time to start on any sadhana. In India it is quite simply said that a sadhana started on new moon will fail. So we have to wait at least 3-4 days after new moon to decide upon it. So much better it is if we can move the starting point a little bit closer to the full moon, where our energy is quite strong, where our willpower, our passion also for it will be quite strong. And maybe ultimately start it on full moon. That is also definitely possible, or at least before, or maybe a few days after. But then the more again we near the new moon, the less is it a good time to start any sadhana. And so then the question definitely also is, in sadhana you want to be a little bit ambitious, you want to challenge yourself, but at the same time you have to be realistic. If you think about meditating half hour a day, then okay, you should look at your life and see if this is possible every single day. It's not always going to be so easy, And definitely if you have until now only meditated for 10 minutes a day, or maybe don't even have any kind of regular meditation, then don't decide to meditate 2 hours a day for 40 days or something, because the chance that you will fail is just too big. You have to be careful there. You are a little bit playing with your ego, playing with your self-confidence. So you have to be realistic, and you can always do more. It is not because you decide to do a half-hour meditation every day that on some days where you have more time and you feel more like it, that you cannot do more. You can do whatever you like, only the thing you promise is that half hour a day. Usually 40 days is said to be a very good duration of a sadhana. I would say a very good minimal duration of a sadhana. This we also find, for example, in Ayurveda, when we are taking a certain medicine that is supposed to have a long-term deep effect, not the kind of medicine that you take and immediately the result is there. No, some kind of medicine which need to be taken for some time. Well, then usually the doctor will say take it for 40 days. That is 1.5 moon, and precisely because you make 1 moon cycle with it and then again 1/2 of a moon cycle, then the effect is really there. And so 40 days I would say is a little bit a minimum. And then we have the magical 108, of course, days, which are often used also. But it can also be in a different way, maybe 3 months, maybe one sadhana for 1 year, or whichever you want is okay. But so 40 days I would say is a minimum for any serious sadhana. Anyhow, it also depends a bit what we are really deciding upon. Like you could easily say, okay, this year I will do some kind of meditation every day for at least half hour. So that is easy to do. But when we're talking about a sadhana, we're usually being a little more precise than that. We're talking about doing a specific meditation technique or maybe a certain sequence of meditation techniques. And then the shorter periods are more logical. Then 40 days, for example, is a very logical period to use to give that technique or that sequence of techniques really the chance to be developed, to be learned, and to manifest its fruits. You should give it that kind of time really to see if this is something for you. But this is then maybe not something you decide for 3 months or for 1 year or something like that. No? So there's a little bit of difference. The more precise you go in what you are going to do, then maybe the shorter the time becomes. If it is more a general thing, then maybe it takes a little bit a longer time and can vary then within that half year or 1 year or whatever time you put on it, depending on what techniques you are using. One thing you also need to decide is a way out, because okay, in life anything can happen. And even if you feel that half-hour meditation a day is something you can do every day, you don't know, you might get ill or something might happen in the family or at work, which simply makes it impossible. Or maybe you just don't feel like it, something happened and you feel sad or bad or angry or, and you just can't think of it. And so you need some way out. You need to make a deal there with yourself. And for example, for me, when it comes to mantra meditation, I always make the deal that if I cannot do it one day, then the next day I'll compensate by doing it double. So for example, if I decide, okay, I'm going to do sadhana with 5 malas per day, then if I cannot do it one day, then the next day I will do 5 malas again for that day. And then I'll do 10 malas to compensate for, the 5 malas not done the day before. This is, I feel, quite a good system because, okay, when I know I have to do double the next day, and then again, do the malas for that day, so then it becomes 3 times more than usual, then it is a decision I will not so lightly take. I will not so easily, because I'm feeling a little bit not in the mood, say, okay, I'll do it tomorrow. No, then I'll know that it's going to be hard tomorrow. So in that way, I properly compensate for it whenever I do make the decision. In that way, the decision will also be taken in a little bit a serious way. Another very important rule in sadhana is to talk about it as little as possible. Maybe, okay, your family needs to know about it because they kind of have to make room for it, they have to allow it to happen. But otherwise, to your friends or whoever, just don't talk about it. This is very important for your self-confidence, because if you start talking about it, then that will create a kind of an expectation in the others. If you say, oh, I'm doing a sadhana, at least 1 hour per day, I meditate for 40 days, then they go like, oh, wow, you are really very special. And then maybe because of this expectation that they project towards you, your own self-confidence will go down. They will be astonished, and because of it you will start questioning yourself, oh, am I really doing this? Am I really able to do this? So just don't talk about it. This is not just a matter of not making too much of an ego game out of it, which is also of course important, but definitely relates to your confidence. Whatever you have achieved in life, it is best not to talk about it too much. This is difficult in our society, where in everything, especially relating to work, but also in many other relationships, we always need to kind of prove ourselves and, market ourselves all the time. It is actually quite negative for our confidence. So, but definitely in sadhana, it is important. And then especially if that sadhana also is done in a way that we get some spiritual help. If for our meditation we ask support from the spiritual world, like I was explaining in last class, then we also have to be humble. We have to be respectful, which also means we really have to do it. We promised it then not just to ourselves, but we promised it to those beings which are going to help us. But we also have to be humble about it, because we are not the only one involved. We are not the only one doing it. So then bragging about it is really not done. It might also have negative influence on that spiritual help that we are hoping to get. So if possible, don't talk about it. Keep it a private thing between you and, whoever you like to have supporting you. And that will be the best way to do it. So if then we want to give our sadhana a little bit more power, if we want to get more spiritual help, then fire rituals are very usual to be done. Fire ritual comes actually in many names. In the Vedic culture, it's called Havan in some areas, Homa, Yagya, Agnihotri, many names are there, but they're actually all the same thing. And they are very old. In the very beginning of the Rig Veda, the oldest book ever written, already fire rituals are mentioned there. And we also find them in all spiritual cultures, not just in the Vedic culture. They are a very important way to connect to the spiritual world. I have explained in the last class how important it is when you meditate to always have some candle or oil lamp or ghee lamp burning, because that light, that fire, it creates a kind of a power that allows you to make a connection to the spiritual world, to make such a nadi, that it also serves as a kind of a beacon, to show where you are. So then if you make a real fire, not just a candle, then that power is much increased. So to create a fire ritual means that we are opening a portal to the spiritual world, and in that way a lot of energy can come through to help us. Such a fire ritual can really support our intention very much. And that intention may be more worldly, like havans are being done for health, in healing. I use it quite a lot. Some people use it also to, let's say, promote their business or improve their relationships, things like that. But so if we are talking about more spiritual pursuits, then definitely Havana is like the end point of any sadhana, and especially any mantra sadhana is finished by doing a certain fire ritual. So basically how such a fire ritual happens is that we make a fire and then we start offering things into the fire. We use samigri, which is a kind of a mixture of nicely smelling plants and woods. Usually also rice is added, ghee is added, maybe black sesame is added, fruits can be added, so many things can be added. But the main thing that we are actually offering in the fire ritual is always the mantra. So we then speak the mantra, and at the end of the mantra we say swaha, which means I offer. And when saying swaha, we also offer the samigri and the rice and whatever it is that we are offering. But the main thing that we are offering is this mantra energy, this mantra power. The other things also have their use for those spiritual beings who are karma yogis, as I explained. They have a value also, and they will put them to good use in their karma yoga. So they are not going to, let's say, eat it all by themselves. They're going to share it, they're going to use it to help others. But the main thing, the main power actually that we are generating is through the mantra. Unfortunately, Havana is not something that I can just teach people and then they go home and they start doing it. To do a Havana means that we have to be a little bit careful, because we are creating a huge portal towards the spiritual world, but we have to make sure that what comes through is beneficial to us and is not going to cause us any problems. And so for that a lot of purification is needed. Shower definitely is needed before the Havana. Certainly for the one who is directing it. It's best if it happens on an empty stomach, things like that. But that's only, where it starts. A lot of things have to be done to make sure that the place is properly purified, properly protected. And the main protection that we have in any Havana comes through the spiritual tradition to which we belong. So quite simply, by using certain mantras, certain signals, you could say, certain rituals, we will attract those spiritual beings that belong to our tradition, and it is them who are actually going to give us the protection that we need. So in that way it is very difficult to just let anybody do it. I know people are just teaching this to anybody and telling, people should be doing this in their home. And I'm not saying they can't, but I'm not willing myself to take that kind of responsibility, because I cannot just protect anybody who is watching a YouTube video or even meeting me in person. That is quite simply not possible. So I can only teach it to those who are close enough to me that I can really integrate them within the spiritual protection that I have myself obtained through my teachers, and only those I can teach. And other people, I'm sorry, but this is just simply not possible. But anyhow, this is a kind of service that I am offering also here, people coming here to do a Havana after doing certain sadhana. And in the nearby future I should be traveling more, so then if we can find a good place where we can make a fire, then definitely we can also organize a Havana for those who are in need of it. With such a Havana, with such a fire ritual, we are really asking in a way a little bit of change, of modification to our karma. We want to a little bit move more fast. So in that way we have to also be very respectful to the planetary systems, which are the guardians of karma, but very respectful actually to the entire spiritual world. So apart from that particular energy which we are addressing with that particular mantra that we are using, we also have to respect all spiritual beings in all the directions. So that's where the directions play a major role, and have to respect every major spiritual being before actually starting to do the Havana, so that everybody feels okay. He's choosing that particular path. He, wants to get rid of some anxiety issue, so he's addressing Kali because she is, the main one to ask that kind of question. And okay, but he's also respecting Ganesha and Shiva and Bhairav and all these other energies. This is also very much needed. So that also means that learning a Havana means learning many, many mantras. When I do a Havana, the minimum number of mantras that I do before starting is over 100. So this is really important that it is done in a proper way, or it could also give some problems. So then, with the basic idea when we're talking about mantra sadhana is that when we do a Havana, that we do at least 10% of the amount of mantras that have been done in the sadhana. So if then in our sadhana we have been doing, for example, 100 malas of a particular mantra, then in the fire ritual we have to at least do 10% of that. So then 10 malas we have to do with the fire. And if we cannot do it in one day, we can do it in more than one day. But so that is how it's done. So you have to imagine in some sadhanas, we are not talking about 100 malas, we are maybe talking about, let's say, 3,000 malas. Then 10%, at least 300 have to be done also in fire ritual to make the sadhana complete. So this is the tantric way a little bit to work with it. but really is very powerful, and then really can give you the power, the siddhi that you expect to get from this sadhana. So I do need to emphasize that starting with sadhana means you are truly starting the path of yoga in practice, which is the third phase, if you remember, from the 7 steps towards enlightenment. Very much needed to get this control over mind, so that you become truly a yogi and can truly move forward in letting go of your ego. But the game of sadhana definitely is going to challenge your ego, make it more strong if you do it in the right way, but you also have to at the same time a little bit watch that ego so that it does not in either way get out of control. And in either way I mean either by attaching too much to the result of that sadhana, by becoming too proud, nor at the same time by losing confidence by going into kinds of sadhana which are just too much for you and which you cannot handle. No? So you have to be careful with that. And this responsibility you also have in our modern system, where we do not accept the guru in the old role that the guru had. In the old times, in the old school teaching, then it was the guru who decided upon the sadhana. It was the guru who would say, like in the famous story of Milarepa, okay, you want to become my student, well then move this mountain from there to there. No? And when after many years Milarepa had really moved every stone of that mountain to another place and told his teacher, okay, I am done, then the teacher quite simply said, okay, now you can put everything back. And so for many years again Milarepa was involved with doing that. So this is not the kind of relationship that people these days accept. And this has actually not only to do with the abuse that has been made of people by gurus who have, started controlling them in such a way that is really not healthy. This is also because in society, throughout the past 2000 years, I would say, there has been a gradual evolution towards more individualism, and this has many good aspects in the sense that we all feel that we are equal. There are no more kings to speak of, and even, with bosses or police officers or anybody who is placed in a certain position of authority, okay, we can respect that authority, we can respect them to do their job, but at the same time we want to be treated as equals. So this also very much affects our relationship to the Guru. And nothing wrong, this is just a natural evolution which I also think had to take place, but at the same time it puts a lot more responsibility on the student. If the guru decides, then it's easy, the student does not have to think about it. Now when we want it, to be done without such a guru, then we have to decide for ourselves. So, and as I said, for the ego, this is not such an easy game. Anyhow, to start actually doing something regularly, to start practicing is needed. Through my coaching of people internationally, I really have seen too often people becoming dissatisfied with themselves because there is too much emphasis on learning, on reading, on listening, on thinking, and not enough emphasis on doing. The way to accept yourself as you are, with all the limitations, let's say, that we still have, is by understanding yourself as being a work in progress. That is so great, if you can see yourself like that, then you can accept yourself like that, because anyhow, you are progressing. But if you are driving on the road and you see a sign that says work in progress, and then you drive a little further but you see nobody working, then you're thinking, what's this about? And so in spiritual growth, this is the same. Work in progress means that work is being done. Otherwise, there is no progress. So we have to accept that. And since we want to decide it by ourselves, we have to decide it by ourselves. I actually have it much easier. My teacher in Nepal, he decides for me what I have to do. And so I don't have to think about it, and I just can do it. But if you want to decide it for yourself, very good. But do decide and stick to it and have that discipline to do a certain sadhana. The story of sadhana is also not made easy by the way that in the West especially, teachers who teach Advaita Vedanta are dealing with the subject of sadhana. They have a tendency to say that all sadhana is an ego game, and that we should, move into a non-doing, into a pure being, into a non-trying, and all those things. So definitely that is, what we have to do, but at the same time, the ego is the hero of yoga. It is not the self who is doing anything. It is not the self who is going to do any sadhana. It is the ego who decides to do it, and who does it, and who gets the result from it. And even if the ultimate objective is to just be and not try anything and not do anything, to reach that objective, to truly reach that objective, we need to do some exercise. We need, as I said, to get mind under control. And sadhana is the only way that we can do that. Too many people are getting caught in a little bit of a mental game of feeling that, yes, I am not doing anything, I am just being, but they are not truly there. They are still very much affected by whatever is around them, and their emotional stability is simply not there or not lasting very long. To truly have the experience of the self, whichever object of meditation you use, it always has to lead to the same thing, that you gain deep meditation in which the self is the only thing in your experience. Only then you can have the true experience of it. As long as you're just sitting there but you're still hearing the birds, whistling, and you're still aware of your environment, and as I explained, that is just pratyahara. That is just, keeping still. And that is very important, but it's not the end goal. To reach the end goal, you're going to have to make an effort, and that effort is called sadhana. And then the last thing to say is that dharma always comes before sadhana. This is very important. Dharma is what is your natural role in this life at any particular moment. If you are a father, you need to take care of your children. If you have a job, you need to go there. So that is your dharma. That relates also to your karma. Dharma is the optimal way to respond to your karma. So that always comes first, and sadhana comes second. When a sadhu becomes a sadhu, it's precisely because he wants to limit his dharma as much as possible, have as little, responsibility as possible, so that he has very little time to spend on, let's say, maybe making a little food or this or that, and the rest he can devote totally to sadhana. But if we are following the householder path, then we have many responsibilities, and they always come first. Like I remember one lady who was very enthusiastic about my first teacher, Harish Johari, and he was making a tour in Europe, and she was following him and meditating every day a lot and listening very attentively to his lectures and everything. So she had been doing this for, I don't remember exactly, but I think about 1.5 months. And then when she also came to Belgium, where he was coming to give us a workshop, he discovered that at home she was still having her husband and her kids. And for that 1.5 months, she hadn't been, taking up that responsibility, which made him quite angry. And he told her, you're going now to pack your things, you're going to go back home to your husband and kids and take proper care for them. And since you've been following me around for so much time, you must have learned a lot. So now for at least 2 years, I don't want to see you anymore. And so that always stayed in my mind as an example that always our Dharma comes first and sadhana second. So, as for home exercises, it's now up to you. You will not find any description on the website like usual, because now is the time when you yourself have to decide what kind of sadhana you're going to do. So you have to decide what you're going to do, maybe also the detail of the particular meditation sequence that you're going to do, how much time you're going to spend on it, or how many malas. Different ways are there to kind of define it. You also have to decide then how long this sadhana is going to last. This minimum of 40 days I advise. And you have to decide also what to do whenever you cannot do it. Whenever one day you really cannot do it, then what rule applies. This also is then to be decided. And then you just start, as I said, preferably between new moon and full moon, and not too close to new moon. Any question you might still have, you can of course also ask me in the Q&A sessions. And you can also ask yourself, as I explained, if you are able to already be silent inside, then just do that, just be silent. Then pop the question, then again be silent, and then the first answer that comes, it will guide you. So that is how you use your inner guru. And if your ability to be silent inside is really already there, then I suggest you start using that kind of intuition, because it will help you in so many aspects of your life and also in your sadhana. So I am here available for coaching also with video calls. I'm also available for healing. And maybe there it is worth mentioning that healing is not just something which happens with sick people or people who are mentally unstable. It is very useful for everybody to at least have their spiritual energy cleaned, which is basically what spiritual healing means, so that you can move forward a little more easily and find it more easy to have the peace and the determination to do in life what you want to do. So thanks for watching. Thanks also for your donations which have made this possible. And if you feel like giving some more donation in the time to come, then be sure that I will put it to good use. I have many plans now to make many more series on different spiritual issues that I'd like to share. And I don't need to get rich by doing that, but the donations definitely help to create a time for it, to make it possible. And I just love doing it. So thanks in advance. And very much welcome also, of course, at the Q&A satsang in the messenger room, which I now plan to, if possible, do every Saturday, also now that this series is ended. So very welcome to join us there and ask your questions, whether it is about this series or any other subject related to yoga, meditation, happiness, health, whatever. I will try my best to answer. And it's actually quite a nice, cozy experience, I think, for everybody. So it's nice to be part of that group, and I hope to see you there. Ram Ram, Have a good time and a good sadhana.